Welcome to the Civil 20 TST Working Group of G20, where we are dedicated to promoting access to and use of technology, enhanced security, and improved transparency for advanced societal well-being. This year, we are proud to announce that Amma, Shri Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, is the chair of C20 India 2023, and we are excited to work under her leadership. In today's world, due to the advancement of technology, countries and communities are interconnected more than ever. Because of the increasing role technology has in our lives, it is crucial that we understand its impact on our societies. Our working group will explore the wide-ranging roles and influence of civil society organizations in promoting effective policymaking that leverages technology and strengthens security and transparency for the betterment of the world. We will focus on access and affordability of innovative technologies for social impact, with a special emphasis on vulnerable communities such as children, women, and the disabled. We aim to facilitate transparency through platforms for advocacy, comprehensive assessments, and implementation of regulatory measures. We will explore responsible use of the internet and media to ensure security and harmony for all. Our team will also explore the importance of integrating a compassion-driven outlook on technology-enabled innovation strategies. We are committed to addressing these issues by supporting long-term holistic solutions for building societies that are technology-empowered, secure, and held accountable by their transparency to their citizens. The insights from civil society organizations are vital for building technologies that enable automated decision-making and knowledge by supporting societal development based on equity and inclusivity. Join us in our efforts to promote access to technology, to enhance security, and to improve transparency for advancing the well-being of society. You are invited to participate in our webinars and policy workshops and share successful project examples with us. Together, we can make a positive impact on the world.
Amriteshwarya Namaha. A very warm welcome to everyone participating in the Civil 20 program on values, ethics, and technology. As is with any auspicious event in India, we shall start the program with a prayer. We request Swami Shubhamritanandapuri to lead us through the prayer.
Dhyayamo dhavalavagunthanavatim Tejomayim naishtigim Snigdhapangavilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmita Shrimukhim Vatsalyamritavarshinim Sumadhuram Sankirtana Lapinim Shyamangim Madhusikta Suktim Amrita Nandatmikam-ishwari. Om Amriteshwari Namaha. Om Amriteshwari Namaha. Om Amriteshwari Namaha.
Thank you, Swami. Once again, a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all those who are here with us today. I am Dr. Krishna Sri Achyutan, National Coordinator for the Civil 20 Working Group on Technology, Security, and Transparency. Let me start with a short introduction on the background of today's program. G20, or Group of 20, is a group of 19 countries in the European Union that represents 85% of global GDP, 75% of global trade, and 2/3 of world's population. We are extremely privileged to be participating in G20 as part of India's presidency this year. The Civil 20 group is an official engagement group of G20 that provides a platform for civil society organizations around the world to voice the people's aspirations to the world leaders of G20. This year's theme of Civil 20 engagement group, "You are the light." This symbolizes the flame of hope, self-motivation, and selfless service. It is a reminder to ourselves that even though we may not directly experience the desired results of our efforts, our light is shining and is having a positive impact on the world. The inspiration behind today's event is our Honorable Chair, Sri Mata Amritandamayi Devi, who has been instrumental in inspiring millions of people in the path of peace and love. Amma is also the founder of Mata Amritandamayi Mutt and Embracing the World, nonprofit organizations that have spearheaded numerous worldwide humanitarian initiatives. Through her life of compassion and selfless sacrifice, Amma has been uplifting those in need while in service of the world community. Amma is also the founding chancellor of Amrita University that has a threefold mission of providing education for life and living, compassion-driven research, and global impact. It is today ranked 41st best university in the world as per the Times Higher Education. Our aim has been to adopt a holistic approach to collect inputs from experts and civil society organizations all around the world that are evidence-based. We already have over 65 countries and 6 continents that have provided inputs as part of the Civil 20 processes. With that, I'd like to welcome all of you to today's program that has participants from 54 countries. Our eminent guests that will deliberate on values, ethics, and technology, the outcomes of which will be integrated into the policy recommendations for G20. The panel is moderated by Swami Shubhamritananda Puri. He's a senior monastic disciple for 33 years, one of Amma's translators, a gifted speaker, a songwriter, and manages several nonprofit initiatives of Mata Amritandamayi Mutt in Europe, Africa, Russia, and Israel. We are so honored to have all of you here with us. And over to you, Swami.
Om Amriteshwarye Namaha. A warm welcome to all our distinguished panelists and to all those participating in this webinar from different parts of the world. Thank you, Dr. Krishna Shri Achyutan, for asking me to moderate this session, in which we will be discussing a topic of paramount importance to the present time and the future: values, ethics, and technology. With your permission, may I take the freedom to tweak it a little and put it as values and ethics in technology. We are living in an intriguing phase of time where technological advancements are surging at breakneck speed. Even this meeting is taking place thanks to technology that connects participants from 54 countries. May it be medicine, engineering, communication, research, entertainment, sports, travel. You name the field, and technology has played a role in enhancing it. At the same time, we have the gloomier side of this advancement affecting individuals and the world as well. Let us look into some recent paradoxes. With the advancement of communication platforms, the world has become like a global village. Yet, loneliness and isolation have never been so high in the world as in recent times, which has even led to certain countries dedicating a minister for loneliness to tackle the growing rate of suicide in their countries. Technology was the savior during COVID times, because students could continue their education, institutions could continue their work. The flip side is the increase in gadget addiction, and a decrease in concentration levels and the attention span of students worldwide. Drones in Rwanda sent over 540,000 deliveries of blood, vaccines, and other essential items to the most remote areas in their country. But at the same time, we all know drones are being used for destruction in warfare as well. Encryption is used to keep data and information private and secure. But the same encryption techniques are used in ransomware attacks that cripple our medical infrastructure. Biotechnology is being used to develop life-saving medicines, but the same technology can be used to create deadly biological weapons. In the last month, with access to the GPT platforms, many are exposed to a leap in technological advancement, which is fascinating, and at the same time raises certain important questions on how the future of humankind will be. I came across an interesting cartoon where a man reads out to his wife a message that appears on his screen. He says, the computer says that I must upgrade my brain to be compatible with its new software. As many predict, in the future, we can expect a hybrid civilization of organic and non-organic entities. As human beings can never function as efficiently as a robot, the danger is that human beings will be termed as a defective computer. Of course, the advancement of technology cannot be stopped. Technology by itself is neutral. In Amma's words, it is like fire, with which you can cook a delicious meal or burn down a home. This is where the importance of values and ethics come in. They are needed at the individual and the world levels in order to use technology constructively and safely. Not the other way around, where we become a tool in the hands of technology. In her recent keynote address at the C20 inception ceremony held in Nagpur, Amma said, technology has truly revolutionized human life, but its negative aspects raise alarming concerns about the future of humankind. Now we see a new generation growing up devoid of a conscience and moral values. And what is the result? Violence in various names and forms is rising. End quote. Dear sisters and brothers, today is the International Day of Conscience. It's a very apt day to discuss the topic values and ethics in technology. And for this, today we have a very eminent panel to discuss this topic. So without further ado, allow me to introduce them to you. The first guest that I'm introducing today is someone who needs no formal introduction. Dr. Deepak Chopra is a household name wherever there is an interest in topics like physical health, mental health, or spirituality. He is a world-renowned speaker, a true leader in mind-body medicine, and an advocate of spirituality. He has authored over 90 books and founded the Chopra Global, a modern-day health company at the intersection of science and spirituality, and the Chopra Foundation, an organization dedicated to improving health and well-being, cultivating spiritual knowledge, expanding consciousness, and promoting world peace. Deepak ji, thank you very much for joining this panel discussion today.
Thank you, Swamiji. Would you like me to say a few things on this topic?
I will, if you allow me, I'll just complete the introduction of our guests and then we'll be coming to you immediately.
Exactly.
Thank you,
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Punacha Machaya is a global thought leader with unique abilities to combine well-being and technology domains. Among a new breed of social entrepreneurs, he applies his experience from 25 years as a business executive in Fortune 100 companies and entrepreneurial initiatives to address societal and well-being challenges. He is the founder of the Warrior Monk brand, targeted at creating a positive societal shift through compassionate transformation of humankind. He is the co-founder of the Never Alone initiative, a movement focused on creating mental and emotional well-being in people, supported by well-being technology. Mr. Machaya, we are very happy to have you in this panel discussion. Thank you very much for coming.
Namaste, Swamiji. It's a pleasure.
Our next guest is Ms. Basuri Swaraj. Ms. Basuri Swaraj is a leading advocate in the Supreme Court of India and is also the Additional Advocate General for the state of Haryana. She is a delegate of Women 20, which is one of the key engagement groups of G20. Her professional portfolio has an eclectic mix of dealing with corporate and criminal laws, and she has made a mark in both these areas. Basuriji, thank you so much for being with us today for this panel discussion.
Namaste, Swamiji. Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. Our next guest is Mr. Rajesh Pilania, who is a professor at the Management Development Institute in Gurgaon. He's a leading researcher and trainer on happiness and has written 11 books on this topic. And his happiness strategy, which involves applying concepts using experiential learning, has inspired a huge amount of students in the country and also a large number of executives. Dr. Pilania, it's a pleasure to have you in this panel today. Thank you very much.
Namaskar, Swamiji. Thank you, and it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Eknath Jain with us. He's one of the coordinators of Ayudh Europe's Dare to Dream project. Ayudh is the youth wing of AMA's organization that is focused on the personal development of youngsters and inspiring them with a spirit to selflessly serve the world. The European chapter has been able to reach out to nearly 7,000 youngsters and has been awarded the best practice 3 times by the Youth in Action program of the European Union. Eknath has just graduated as a medical doctor, and thank you so much, Eknath, for joining this panel today as our youth representative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Swamiji. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a real privilege to be speaking in front of all these hundreds of people in the audience and 1,000 plus online, as well as these distinguished panelists.
Thank you. Our first question today is to Dr. Deepak Chopra. Deepakji, you have been in the field of helping people find peace, balance, health, and harmony for decades. And in today's world, people's work and social lives are intrinsically connected to technology. What is your recommendation to people regarding how they should interact with technology in a healthy and mature way as a consumer? And what role do ethics and values play in determining people's relationship to technology, both in terms of individual values as well as society values and ethics? Deepakji, hope you can throw some light on this topic.
Swamiji, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with this distinguished panel. And I thank Amrita and Nandmai and her organization and this beautiful focus on all things important to society right now, including conflict resolution, sustainability, social, economic justice, health, joy, and self-realization. Technology is a part of our evolution. It's been there now since the industrial age and before. I mean, the discovery of the wheel is technology. The discovery of fire is technology. And these human constructs have actually advanced significantly in the last 40,000 years, but even more significantly since the industrial age, and then the information age, and now hopefully the age of knowledge and consciousness and self-realization. So, when we look at science and how it defines technology, there's data, then there's information, and then there's knowledge, which can be divine or diabolical, destructive or creative. And ultimately, it's the evolution leads in the direction of wisdom. Many evolutionary biologists, including Jonas Salk, said the future of our survival as a species and of other species is based on what he called meta-biological evolution, which is the evolution of consciousness and ultimately the evolution of the consciousness of consciousness, which, of course, in our traditions is called self-realization. Self-improvement is a byproduct of self-realization. I don't think self-improvement can be pursued directly. It leads to a lot of frustration. The essential religious experience in all traditions is transcendence, number one, knowing your identity beyond space and time. The emergence of what the West calls Platonic values like truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, love, compassion, joy, equanimity. And the third experience is the loss of the fear of death. Now, if anyone had this experience, they would be incapable of violence. They would be incapable of even having a tribal or ethnic mind. They would actually be the embodiment of what you earlier called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. They would be sustainable in their living. They would see the world as their extended body, and they would feel no separation. So that's our survival if we seek it. We are at crossroads now as medieval minds, unfortunately, and tribal tendencies combined with modern capacities. It's a sure way to sleepwalk to extinction. And many people are calling the next extinction the sixth extinction. That'll be a result of war, terrorism, mechanized death, eco-destruction, extinction of species, chronic illnesses, pandemics, and wars, and total lack of joy or well-being. Where does technology fit in? We cannot stop it. It's part of our evolution. It depends on how we use it. Technology is neutral, always has been neutral. The worst use of our imagination is to use that technology for self-destruction. The best use of that technology is to actually use it to amplify our capacity for evolution to the things that are so important to this organization and other spiritual organizations: seva, selfless service; sangha, global community, not just regional community, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam; and sadhana, a daily practice. So when we have seva, sadhana, and sangha, then you have the solution to every problem in the world. And technology can actually help us if we so choose. I actually went on some advanced AI platforms, including ChatGPT and some even more advanced than that. And I asked the question that you're asking me of the AI. So my question was, can AI be used to prevent unethical use of AI? I asked the AI if it could help us. And this is the answer. In fact, there are already many research efforts underway in this area, and several AI-based tools and techniques have been developed to help ensure that AI is being used ethically. One approach is to use AI to audit and monitor the behavior of other AI systems. This can be done by analyzing data inputs and outputs to detect patterns or anomalies that may indicate unethical behavior. For example, AI could be trained to flag instances of bias or discrimination in decision-making processes. Another approach is to use AI to develop ethical guidelines and best practices for the use of AI. This could involve creating decision-making algorithms that make ethical considerations, take ethical considerations into account, or developing frameworks for evaluating the potential ethical implications of AI systems. Overall, while AI is not a perfect solution to preventing unethical use of AI, it can certainly play an important role in promoting ethical behavior and ensuring that AI is being used for the greater good. So that's what you get from AI about AI and the best use of ethics. And I do feel that if we engage AI in creating global sanghas, global platforms of service, global platforms for sadhana, including meditation, prayer, self-inquiry, self-reflection, mindfulness, vipassana, and ultimately the 8 limbs of yoga, starting with, the yamas, niyamas, yogasanas, pranayam, pratyahara, and interoceptive awareness, and dharana, dhyan, samadhi, then we can use technology to create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. It's up to us. We have to be the change we want to see in this world. So that's my unfortunately long answer, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it with you.
Thank you very much, Deepak. It is something that, really needs to be reminded again and again, that this is something that can be used for the well-being of the world as well. And as you put, for seva, sangha, and sadhana, if technology can be incorporated in a right way, it can be so beneficial to millions of people around the globe. And so the importance of having these value systems to choose the right things, to have the right discernment, to be able to pick up the right things from technology and use it properly, which is, I'm sure, a big responsibility, on people to really be focused. And I think it's also a responsibility for people who have the spiritual wisdom to spread it around to others also, to be, to guide them to choose the right things.
Swamiji, with your leadership and this panel and the guidance of Amma, I think this is possible.
Thank you, Deepak. We'll be coming back to you with a very important question, which I'm sure many will be interested to listen to. I'll just go to Macheya-ji. Mr. Macheya-ji, you have been a successful entrepreneur who has worked in building up Fortune 100 companies. And nowadays, we see so many companies investing in immersive technology that make people susceptible to it, but some may not necessarily be healthy for the individual or for the society. Can you share your views on the role of business leaders in bringing an ethical approach to innovation and promoting techniques that are healthy for society? I think you would be a right person to answer this with your experience.
Once again, thank you, Swamiji. I think I'm very grateful to Mata Amrita and Amma's vision, and I was amazed to see the university accomplishments. So once again, based on Dr. Chopra's remarks, I want to kind of comment and say that, we've had technology forever. Like, go back to ancient wisdom traditions, we had yantra, tantra, and mantra, right? How you use the yantra, how you use the mantra, and how do you use the tantra can be for good, can be for bad. So I think it really goes back into what I call conscious technology. How do we become conscious technologists? When a physician, and Dr. Chopra finishes his medical school and AIMS, he had to take the Hippocratic Oath. All physicians take an Hippocratic Oath, right? Where do our software engineers, why don't they take an oath? Why don't we as engineers? Because you know what, today, every software goes into your pacemaker, software goes into electronics. Software is at the core of everything, STEM and STEAM, right? So every engineer, forget every engineer, every person who touches a line of code, right, should have this concept of being a conscious technologist. Take a Hippocratic Oath, remind yourself, right? When the Hippocratic Oath says, I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. I will remember that I will remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings, those sound of mind, body, as well as the infirm. That is a powerful statement. If we can remind ourselves as technologists, as leaders, right, that we need to kind of we have an ethical obligation. Why don't we, when we finish our MBA or when you get a business degree, take a Hippocratic oath, right? It is time for us to become conscious leaders, conscious technologists, right? And I think that's really where I would say, I would start with that statement. When you're reminded of that obligation, like Deepak talked about yama and niyama, when you're reminded that before you get to asana, you better do your yama niyama, then go to asana. Because yoga is not about six-pack abs, right? That's very much a California, New York kind of phenomenon, right? You know, the question of satya, astiya, right? Aparigraha, right? Looking at Brahma, looking at these sentiments are more important than actually getting, looking at the asana aspect of yoga. So sometimes I think as members of a civil society, we get these tools and we forget how to use these tools. And I think we have to go back and be very conscious, very deliberate, very mindful as leaders. And once again, not focused on short-term goals, right? Leaders are very much driven by, what is the share value? What is my 3-month projection? But taking a long-term perspective of what does the next 20, 30 years look like. So as a preface there, let me get back to your question about how do we look at immersive technologies? And that was the ethics behind it. And I was speaking in Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. And I was talking about the most important thing right now. I think if you look at medicine, right? Typically, we take a piece of take medication is delivered orally, right, as a pill, or you take it intravenously, or you cut a piece of tissue. The next big frontier in medication is going to be through the eyes, right? It's when you say, how is that? So we believe, and Dr. Chopra and me have been working on this for a while, that the metaverse, there's going to be an entire category of drug delivery called metaceutical, metaverse as a therapeutic, right? So we have gone from digiceutical to electroceutical and now metaceutical. Children today are growing up on Roblox. I don't know how many of you all know of Roblox, but there was an article in Wall Street Journal which said that children today do not want money. Children growing up 7, 8-year-olds want Robux, right? There is an entire paradigm shift of what it means to own a virtual asset, right? So as business leaders, as you look at this new economy, the new world, an entire generation is growing up, not even thinking of apps, thinking of metaverse, right? So when you look at that, we have an obligation now. So we're going to be delivering a lot of content to them. The eye, when I talk about it as the metaverse, when you listen, watch something, it creates what you call a visual system. The visual system then creates a simulation system. Then it creates a belief system. And it creates an embodiment system, right? So the eye is such a powerful mechanism. How come we never even think about, we put on a virtual VR glass, or we put content on, and we never think about what is this piece of content doing to the individual, right? As Dr. Chopra says, everything you look at, everything you sift, sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, change our biology, right? It literally, you watch a funny cartoon, dopamine hit. You watch something which is, I would say has crime and things like that, creates a cortisol, inflammation in the body. So this is a piece of content, right? It's an image. So these are now, as we kind of look at creating these worlds, the VR world, which is going to happen because we're already seeing Zoom, right? Zoom is a virtual experience. As I look at this, and I look at the tone of this conversation, let us create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. My body says, wow, okay, I want to be part of this Sangha. I want to be part of this community. I look at the faces over here. There's limbic resonance happening. And everybody looks joyful here. Everybody seems they want to make a better world, a better place. This is a Sangha, right? So how do we create communities and online experiences? And I think we have an ethics. I think when we talk about C20 and when we look at what does it mean in the future, we have to champion. Like I always joke, the world doesn't need Tinder, it needs tender, right? Tenderness is a value which we need to incorporate, right? Where are we looking at these things? We're always saying, how do I get the next interaction? How do I get the next behavior change? where are we looking at conscious uses of technology? So, and Dr. Chopra is the best person to talk about this. He always has this thing. Yes, he talked about the soul of leadership in one of his top books. He talks about leaders need to look and listen. They need to have emotional awareness. They need to be responsible. They need to dare to dream, empathy, and responsibility. So we need to be the change, and leaders have to take that oath. And technology, I would say, is neutral, right? It can be used, to save people. It can be used to heal people. It can be also used other way. A use case I want to talk about, and Swamiji, our dear friend Gabriella Wright, as part of Never Alone, during the pandemic, we looked at how do we use technology. So he said, okay, we're all stuck in our homes. Let's kind of maybe put an AI chatbot together. And we created an AI chatbot called PV. And we said, let's see, maybe 20,000 people using this. To date, we have more than 24 million messages exchanged on the platform, right? 16 million minutes of conversation and more than 5,000 plus suicidal ideation interventions. If every 40 seconds, we're losing someone to suicide globally, how do we as leaders rise to the occasion, use technology, right? In India, we have two ends of the spectrum which are suffering. The youth are suffering, and what people don't know about, even seniors are suffering, right? And as we have these two bookends, I was in Nimhan's Bangalore speaking about understanding the dynamics. So we need to kind of leverage technology. As leaders, we need to really kind of come together and say, okay, we have this pandemic, the silent pandemic is loneliness, right? What do we do about it? What is our agenda? And Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of India. Imagine if the business leaders in Bangalore decide, and they have done that, Infosys changed the landscape of technology in India and all, I would say globally. If they make a decision that, we need to look at these things and use technology better, I know the world will be a better place. So that's just my, the key thing is that we need to commit. We need to, take an oath as technologists.
Thank you so much, Machayaji. It was brilliant, the thought on even professional software professionals taking the Hippocratic oath. It is something that should resonate with a lot of techies, and it would really change a lot of things. And as you really mentioned, conscious technology, it all depends on the vision that the business leader also would have. And on those things, what you build will be completely different. Like somebody who values privacy will make sure that their product, is something that values the privacy of the consumers using their product, or one who values sustainability will always have that approach towards his consumers, towards his clients. So it is a lot depending on the maturity of the person. And I remember Amma once saying that we were all affected by the coronavirus, and the whole world came to a standstill for 3 years. Amma said there is another virus that needs to spread, and that is the Karuna virus. Karuna is compassion. So she said, we need to spread this compassion virus. And as it spreads to every sphere of activity, we would be able to see a difference coming to the world.
Right? An organization takes a shape of leader. You look at Facebook, what the leader says, right? You look at, every Elon Musk with Tesla, a leader. So I think as you look at Amrita and the organization, the leader, right? So tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are, right? Tell me who the leader of your Sangha is, and I'll tell you what the Sangha is about, right?
Yeah,
and you look at this Sangha as a different, it's the conscious leadership. And I think we need to double up on that.
True. It's something that needs to grow faster. I think seeing the demands in the world, seeing the situation in the world. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. We'll surely be back with you also for a question. Basuriji, you are a legal luminary, and hence I wanted to ask a question about legal legislations regarding technology. If a medical drug needs to be introduced in a market, it has to go through a lot of trials before it is approved. But with technology, many of us don't hear of any approval process as such. And we sometimes realize the negative effects of it only after it's become fully functional in society. And by the time, a lot of time has passed away, valuable time has passed away, and people find it hard to wean out of the habit that they have created using that platform. Now, with climate change, had measures been taken decades before, I'm sure we would have been in a much better position regards to global warming. Hope it will not be the same with some of the technological advancements. So I would really want to know, what is your opinion on legislations regarding these new technologies?
Thank you, Swamiji. Whether we like it or not, technology is inevitable. And I completely agree with Dr. Chopra that it is part of our evolution. It cannot be contained. And technological advancements are taking place at such a rapid pace that a device or a platform which is launched today, it becomes obsolete within a year. Therefore, to answer your question, we cannot have legislation for every technological innovation. But what we can do are have guiding and regulatory principles. And we do have these existing legislations. Of course, wherever or whenever there is a vacuum in law, then the governments of the day on a global level are coming together, especially in platforms like the G20, to discuss it further and make sure that such legislations are made in their respective countries. The thing is, every time there's been a drastic development or innovation in technology, people have always viewed it with skepticism and fear. But I personally believe that we need to embrace technology. And it is vital for the progress of the human race. It is, as all my co-panelists said, technology is just an instrument. It is neutral. I'll give an example. Now, something as innocuous as a stone. In the hands of Nal and Neel in the Ramayana, it led to the development of an engineering marvel like the Ram Setu, the bridge from India to Lanka. But in the hands of an antisocial element, the same stone can become an instrument of vandalism. There is a requirement for ethics and ethical use of technology. And as Machayaji asked a very pertinent question, he said, how do we become conscious technologists? I think the answer lies in inculcating good sanskar or moral values in the minds of our young. An iPad can be used to teach the Gayatri Mantra to a child, or the same can be used to incessantly play Baby Shark. But moderation, I believe, is key. Technology should not be a tool that parents use to keep away their child or distract the child. These days, parents are completely unaware of what content the child is exposed to. What is needed is for the parents or society or guardians to spend time with the children, teach children on how to use technology for good. I draw an example from the Mahabharata to illustrate what I mean about good sanskar. So both the Ashwatthama and Arjuna were fierce warriors. They were taught by the same teacher, Guru Drona, and both had access to the same technology, the Brahmastra, which would be akin to a nuclear weapon in modern day. However, Ashwatthama used it to kill King Parikshit while he was still in his mother's womb. The difference here is the moral values and teachings. It is for the parent to guide young minds to ensure that technology does not become evil. The second role, I believe, is that of teachers and schools. Today, we are very fortunate that we have the access to knowledge of the entire human race in the palms of our hand via our smartphones. Now, schools must teach children how to harness this resource of the internet and the connectivity and technological research which is at our disposal. We need to move beyond rote learning. We need to stoke the fires of curiosity. Emphasis needs to be on research, innovation, application, and technology can be a huge enabler in it. Coming back to the question that you asked me about the role of governments and legislatures, I think government's role is definitely in regulating technology to an extent. Swamiji, I would like to differ from you. Technology is not like a drug that can be tested on 10,000 people and determine the outcome. Once technology becomes available, its use depends on the imagination of every individual. Hence, it's impossible to predict how technology will evolve or be used by people. In my opinion, governments cannot ban or stop any technology, but what they can do is definitely severely punish the people who are misusing it. I'd like to give the example of India. We already have the Indian Penal Code and also legislations like the Information Technology Act, which deal with crimes involving computers and internet, offenses like cyberbullying or stalking, or are punishable under the Indian Penal Act. One particular area that definitely does need legislation is data security, because people in this age are prone to oversharing on social media. All our personal data is voluntarily shared by people online. This data needs to be protected and the use of the same needs to be regulated. For this purpose, I'm happy to say that the Modi government has already introduced the Data Protection Bill, and I'm hopeful that it will be passed in Parliament soon. So coming back to the original point, laws that governments make can only be used for punishing wrongdoers, but technological advancements can neither be stopped and neither should they be restricted. I would once again like to emphasize that the duty of the society as a whole is to guide young minds and to ensure that we harness the technology in the right way. Dr. Chopra spoke about artificial intelligence. I would like to shed some light on that as well. Today, artificial intelligence softwares like ChatGPT are easily accessible to all. This new technology is definitely disrupting the market, and it will make certain jobs redundant and lead to creation of new types of jobs. But we have to move forward with this technology at the same time and not forget our core ethical values. I do not know if you know about it, but somebody actually used the whole aspect of ChatGPT and made Gita GPT. It is an AI tool which helps you navigate the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. I personally believe that we need more innovative and progressive thinking like this. After all, it is the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister to make India a technological hub in order to be a developed nation by 2047.
Thank you, Basuriji. I totally agree with you. We cannot stop technology, and it has to grow because there are so many positive sides to it. We just would want it to be, used healthily and in a safe way. I'm very happy to know that the data protection bill is on its way, and which would also, bring about a great kind of a control on people who want to misuse, this system, misuse technology especially. And as you rightly mentioned, it is something that can be used for so many beautiful things. I'm hearing about the Gita GPT for the first time. I'm surely going to try it tonight and see, how it works. It's very, very interesting to see that aspect of it. And yes, as you mentioned, legislations can only play a certain role in it because it's more subtle. With a physical ailment, you can detect it, you can see it, and the results are kind of very visible. But with this, the effects being quite subtle, sometimes we are not able to kind of detect it timely or kind of see it clearly, which is a bigger challenge. But surely, the answer was something that I'm sure many people would kind of be restful now, because this is a question that comes up quite time and again. Why aren't things in place for legislations against technology? So I think you gave a very apt answer for that. Thank you very much.
If we go in for self-regulation, there will be no need for legislation.
True. It all starts from the individual, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It all comes, finally ends there. And I think we really are seeing this convergence, with what Dr. Deepak Chopra ji mentioned, what Mr. Machaya mentioned, and what you can see that, there is this importance of the values being the foundation of technology, and that would really solve so many problems. Thank you so much for your inputs on this question. Eknath, I want to come to you. You're the youth face of this panel, and you're the coordinator of Ayuth Europe. And you also belong to the Gen Z, who have been dealing with technologies from a very young age. What behavioral changes are you observing in young people due to technology? And are there any in particular that alarm you? And my second part would be, to what degree do you think young people want values and ethics-based oversight and regulation to technology. You being, somebody who interacts with a lot of youngsters, you would know what their thought is about it. And you have, being a doctor, you also see the effects of technology. So maybe you can put both these things together and give your insights on it.
Thank you so much for two or three very great questions, Swamiji. I mean, it's been so amazing hearing the answers so far. I mean, on that first point, I just, when I was listening to everyone here right now, I'm really just in marvel. I mean, I'm just sitting here in this random apartment in London, and just thinking about how people way smarter than me have somehow figured out how to put me in front of this screen and have given me this ability to share my thoughts with the world and connect with such distinguished speakers. And as you said earlier on, Swamiji, the youth of today and all the audience members are only here today because we've harnessed technology for connection. When you ask about behavioral changes in young people as a result of technology, I think the first thing to recognize is what technology has given us that our parents' generation did not have. And I think that's access, or rather ease of access to information, ease of access to services, things like online banking and e-learning, and ease of access to each other with social media or even Zoom. With this unprecedented and first time in human history access in mind, I reflect that the behavioral changes have been positive and negative. I mean, on a positive perspective, as you said, as a doctor, it's transformed my clinical practice. I can't imagine being a doctor without the internet. I mean, it's given me insight into cutting-edge resources. It's improved my decision-making skills, and it's really given me the confidence to see ways that I could be a better physician. When I was a student, technology sparked my curiosity. And I pose this a question to all the students out there. How many of us can really, hand on heart, truthfully say that we've ever written a paper without Google? I mean, my parents would say to me that they had to cycle to some dusty library in the middle of nowhere to get out a textbook and write their essay. And that sounds like hard work, but I think having read my parents' kind of papers, I think Google has made our work much better. Sorry, but traditional services that we used to use and go in person to do, like banking, shopping, and even now university degrees, are now being engaged from the comfort of our own homes. Who knows, actually one day I could probably do my practice on a beach somewhere. And young people are using these services much quicker, easier, and earlier than ever before. Behaviorally, we're becoming much more autonomous and independent, and we're not relying on others in order to guide ourselves through this world. As a youth activist and coordinator for iYouth, as you thankfully introduced as the youth branch of Embracing the World, as a plug, please check our social media more, I had to do that. It's transformed my way of being, social media, I mean. It's alerted me to the problems faced by youth all over the world. And it's inspired me, and I think it's inspired us to want to help each other beyond our own borders. Many people call our generation awoke, and they use it negatively. They see us as weak and too sensitive. But the way I see it is that the information on the internet, the virtual civic engagement projects, and really being able to connect via social media means that we have become the most empathetic, socially aware, and capable generations, really able to help others more than ever before. Of course, this unrestricted, overwhelming, expanding ease of access has come at some cost. Many of our panelists thankfully have touched on these aspects, but flipping my positive points, we can start to see the negative aspects of this unrestricted access to technology, information, and people. You see, the alarming truth is that many of us will struggle to live without these technologies, and technological addiction is becoming prevalent. I mean, really thinking about it, honestly, how many of us can go a day without using our mobile phone, without feeling some anxiety or need, or even an hour, really? When I misplace it, I'm constantly kind of alert and thinking what's going on. To be clear, I'm not saying that we need to kind of get rid of these things, but I think we should be aware that neuropsychologically, we become so dependent that it's beginning to mimic drug-like behaviors. I mean, studies have shown that young people, but also across generations, are relying on social media and online gaming to provide them their daily dopamine release, so that little happiness chemical that we need. And then when we're deprived of it, we're experiencing withdrawals, a bit like drug addicts. social media, gaming, they're all designed in order to give us this easy, constant release to make us happy. And many people are turning away from kind of normal activities, other activities, and returning to their phone. Ultimately, as you mentioned earlier, this has reduced attention span. I actually just found out yesterday that attention spans have fallen from about an average of 12 seconds to 8 seconds in the last 6 years. And longer term studies are concerned that this over dopamine production is going to lead to a loss of dopamine centers and mental health issues. So that's, I guess, regards to this addiction aspect. The ease of access to services, like I said, banking, shopping, etc., has propagated impulsivity. I mean, think about this. How many of us can say that we haven't gone online shopping and maybe binged a little bit too much? Things in regards to finance, well, we've had ease of access to banking and things like cryptocurrencies. We found that the transactions which used to have taken hours to do, that had protection on, that even had these similar kind of oaths that we were mentioning earlier, are now being done in a second without oversight. And ultimately, malicious people are taking advantage of the trust of others and of young people. The ease of information that I was saying earlier on that's improved my practice has also led to an ease of access to misinformation. One thing we are seeing is this social media and the TikTok algorithm leading to this echo chamber. And what I mean is that TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are designed to propagate topics that we're interested in. So my flatmate, he gets movies, and I get the cutest kittens on the planet constantly circulating in my feed. And while that's fantastic for me, in some ways it can create a very limited window and perspective of the world for young people. And many are using this to radicalize particularly vulnerable groups. Moving on to this concept of what I was talking about, connecting with each other. Well, social media was designed originally as a way of bridging borders. But actually, in some ways, it's increased levels of isolation. We surveyed hundreds of young people across the COVID-19 pandemic, asking them about what they're feeling and their mental health. And they've said that although technology had helped them communicate with each other a lot more, they never felt more isolated, and they never felt kind of more alone in that sense. Moreover, social media has transformed the ways we portray ourselves. Originally as a way that we could share and create understanding, it's led to a distortion of reality. And I think, and again, I keep saying we're all guilty, but I think we've all spent a lot of time curating the perfect social media post before sharing it. I admit, I was debating whether I should say this, but I admit that even last night, before I posted on Instagram, I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out the perfect shade of green to use on some grass on a photo that I took, because I really wanted to get it right. But the ultimate consequence of this is that it's creating this culture of body dysmorphia, feelings of inadequacy, and this constant fear of missing out. I mean, I personally see many Instagram influencers on holidays and exotic beaches, and I just think I'm missing something in my life, which is just not the case. I think, as Deepak said, and as several other our panelists have said, we can't stop this evolution. It's the very nature of young people, it's the very nature of myself to be curious and adventurous. And to this end, there is a lot that needs to be done by governments and corporations to mitigate the lasting effects of technology. I mean, we'll talk about some of them to come, things like digital literacy schemes, apps that promote authenticity, and government policies. The thing I want to say is that I think a large amount of these are uncoordinated and are not kept with the youth in mind, who are the biggest users of this technology. And I really want to say to my panelists and to the audience out there that, as many of the wonderful people have said already, that we have this opportunity to work together and use it as a force for good. And we need to ensure that we can give access to resources and support young people so that they can thrive in this digital age. And yeah, so the second question, I hope that answers the first question well enough. But your second question on AI and regulation, it's a challenging and it's a very important question. I mean, you're right, with everything with ChatGPT and OpenAI. I mean, personally, as someone who loves science fiction, I don't know if anyone else is a movie lover who likes Terminator and who likes these kind of things. I think it's amazing that we're at this state in my lifetime. And I mean, but it's, this issue has existed, I should say, since this concept of artificial life has existed since, Mary Shelley and Frankenstein. But to answer your question very blatantly, from my perspective, is that I personally would advocate for some degree of regulation. Because for me, at its heart, this question is one of free will and what people will do when they're given access to powerful tools. And when I was thinking about it, it felt to me like it was mirroring many issues surrounding things like gun control, in the sense that in a utopian world, we could get access to things like guns and we would be trusted not to harm others. But that's not the world we live in, unfortunately, at the present. And making reference to what I said earlier, the unregulated nature of social media and technology has had really powerful negative consequences. And we need to learn from this going forward. And in reference to your second question about how young people may want values and ethics-based oversight in regulation, I think if I surveyed my peers, the responses would be a mixed bag. I contend that we, as a group of young people, are eager to use AI to transform our lives and benefit others. And I think we would worry that regulation will restrict our creative freedoms. I mean, I think there's a lot of distrust into organization amongst young people and governments, and we worry that we will not be given the opportunities to utilize them to its fullest potential for ourselves and for our friends. And we think that it would be reserved for the rights of organizations and governments and people with money. With this said, again, I think many will want a little bit of ethical in play, and that's because our generation is more aware of the negative behavioral changes technology can incite. And we'll want to ensure that it's a tool that it's optimized such to be a benefit of others. But, and this is really the big but here, we'll want it to be standardized and transcend borders, such that we can allow equal and fair access to this tool, irrespective of social status, economics, and geography. When I was thinking about the ultimate way to sum up this point, and I think as someone alluded to earlier about the fact that ultimately, once we change ourselves, we can change the world, and also the fact of spirituality being an advocate, being together with technology to help create solutions. It reminded me of a quote by Mata Amrita and Mai, and it's a long one, but I really want to put it out there. You see, Amma says it is her prayer that we develop the expansive mindedness to embrace both scientific knowledge and spiritual wisdom. We can no longer afford to see those two streams of knowledge as flowing in opposite directions. In truth, they complement one another. If we merge these streams, we will find that we are able to create a mighty river, a river whose waters can remove suffering and spread life to all of humanity. So thanks for giving me the space. I hope that all kind of makes sense.
Thank you, Eknath. I mean, you did try to explain both the questions, in giving the different views of it, the positive sides of it, the negative side of it. And the third and the second part of the question, I totally agree with you. It would be a mixed bag of responses, because there will be a part that says, yes, we want it to be regulated in some way so that it's more safe for us and for the future generation. But then there would also be a part that would say, no, we want to have a free run. We don't want any kind of restrictions put on us. But let's hope our youngsters will be, mature enough to handle it and will use it, for moving ahead in life and for making the world a much more peaceful and safer place. Dr. Rajesh, as we came to this point where our youth representative Eknath was talking about, it has also led to isolation in society. We have connected to each other through technology, but there is also isolation. And as you are a happiness professor, you would always be emphasizing on the importance of connections, to people, because for people, having this human connection and empathy is a big way to invoke happiness within. So my question to you would be, how can we balance our increasing reliance on technology with our need for human connection and empathy? So can you just throw a little light on that?
First of all, I was listening to all my fellow panelists, and I'm quite impressed by the depth and breadth of their ideas. So the good thing is that you're not asking the same question, so I still have some views left. Otherwise, they have covered a lot. So I agree with my fellow panelists. And before I come to a question, if you look at our survival and growth of Homo sapiens, we have survived thanks to technology and its ethical and value-based use by majority of us. The recent example is COVID. We survived COVID because of technology. And historically, whenever there are new technologies, there are always questions raised about its impact, positive and negative. But I have a strong belief in goodness of our human spirit. And our youth is much more talented, much more smarter than our generation. And I have high hopes from them. And they know much more about technology than probably I know or many of us know. Now coming to your question on striking a balance between technology and connection. So what we discuss in my research in my courses is that happiness lies in the balance, living a balanced life, whether it's technology or connection or any other sphere of life. And here I generally quote Mahatma Gandhi again and again, that Mahatma Gandhi said that happiness is when what we think, what we say, and what we do are in harmony. So if you want our next generation to strike a balance between the two, we need to be the torch bearer. So what we do in our personal life, what we teach in school, what we do at home, what we do in our social life, kids are watching us all the time. And they are taking the clues from us all the time. So to strike the balance, what I suggest is, first we need to have the right knowledge. For example, there's a wrong belief among youth that multitasking is good for our brain. But research shows that multitasking is not good for our brain. Our human brain is incapable of doing two things simultaneously. What it does is it alternates between two tasks. So the first thing is that we need to give the right knowledge to our youth. Second is, knowing is not enough. I was talking to my 19-year-old nephew, and he said, Mamaji, I know everything about this topic. I know a lot, but the problem is in implementation. So what we need to tell them is how to do it in their daily life. So we can start by suggesting them that start with small changes, because research shows that in behavioral change, if you ask somebody to change 100% in a day, they will not, majority will not. But if you ask them to change 4%, majority will do this. So if we ask them, okay, beta, look at the time that you spent on technology every day. Can you reduce 10 minutes and give that time to connecting with the family or friends? They would do this 10 minutes. If you ask them to do 2 hours from the beginning, they would make excuses, right? Second is, if we ask them to make like technology friends, like friends who decide together how we are going to strike a balance together. Because what we have learned in research is that when you do something alone, it's much more difficult. But when you do it in a group, it's much easier. So if they can find a buddy, so let's say ethical and value-based use of technology buddy, and they discuss every week that how are they doing? Are they saving 10 minutes daily and giving that time to connect with others, right? And third is, we also need to give our youth a chance to be human. We all make mistakes. So we need to probably also teach them how to be more conscious, because when they are conscious, they would take all good decisions. But the problem is the time that we stay conscious is a very short time period, and then the other things of life take over, right? So if you do these three things, that we tell them that we become the torchbearer of how to use technology. We tell them the right knowledge, and we give them the right implementation tool. It's possible that they would be able to strike a very good balance. And what we do, like one of the research projects that we do is we do this global happiness photo contest. And a lot of young people, they are using technology phone to submit photos. And what we find is the number one category of photo is not about technology. It's about some kind of relationship. They are saying happiness photos when they are spending time with their friends or family. So I think they're already aware of this. We need to do some kind of hand holding, and they can do much better than we are doing. For example, in India, we don't care about cleanliness that much. But thanks to Modi government and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, other day I was on the road and I saw that somebody, a senior person, was trying to throw something on the street, and his young kid asked him, don't do this. So I think our next generation, the youth, they are much more aware, much more smarter than us. And if you do a bit of hand holding, they will be able to strike the balance between technology and staying connected, and overall staying much more happier than our generation is. Thank you, in the interest of time.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. You know, what you mentioned is very relevant. You know, rather than just telling our kids at home or youngsters that, you know, don't spend time on technology, or, you know, or just saying that, you know, be in touch with your friends or be more socially available to people. It would be good to give them short-term goals. You know, these are things that really sometimes are easy for our youngsters to follow. And once they get a taste of it, you know, a taste of how amazing it is to be with family, you know, how much they can learn and how much they can enjoy just being with the family. I think it really makes them more, you know, more focused on developing more, you know, human bonds rather than just being stuck in the gadgets, because it's a very important thing that we need to really get. And as you said, youngsters are very much aware, and they really need to, you know, kind of get it across to others who are stuck in it, you know, who are stuck in this kind of an isolation, to come out of it. And I'm sure they can do a great job. But thank you for your inputs on this question. Deepak ji, we have a question for you. I read, you know, you emphasize the importance of taking sabbatical from technology. You know, you mentioned that just like we take sabbatical from work, you know, it would be good for people to once in a while take a sabbatical from technology, and you know, spend some time in silence, some time, you know, in being kind of peaceful and alone somewhere. So can you suggest some practical steps that people can take to make this possible? Because many may argue, how do I do this? I'm connected to my gadgets all the time because my work demands it. So can you just, you know, give us some practical tips on how do we take this short, even if it's a short sabbatical, and the importance of it?
I will answer with a very short quote from the Shiva Sutras. Allow memories not to victimize you, but use memories for creativity. So every addiction, as you know, is a sanskara, vasana, karmic event. And that is what causes us suffering ultimately. So to take some time for doing nothing is very important. I recognize that sadhana is very important, but even spiritual pursuit can become an occupation. Even spiritual pursuit can become an occupation. How do you stay unoccupied? It's been my practice for many years to take 1 week of silence every year. I'm extending that now since I'm 76 and have the luxury of doing that. But for those who are beginners, I would like to suggest that schedule your day and be totally mindful of what you're doing at that time. So there's technology time. For me, that's in the morning and the evening for, say, half an hour or 1 hour. Although, you know, there are occasions where I have to not do that. So there's technology time, there's sleep time, there's meditation time, there's yoga time, there's relationship time, and there is mindful eating time. And then there is downtime. Downtime means not even sadhana time. Okay. It has been said that all of our problems in the world come from our ability to not sit quietly, inability to not sit quietly and do nothing, you know, do absolutely nothing, no occupation. And that's the down state that we all need. So schedule your day, and when you're doing what you're doing, you're totally focused. Work time is work time. Technology time is technology time. Meditation time is meditation time. And if you do that efficiently, then you will find that sadhana and that downtime becomes very effective, and the use of technology is much more efficient. Otherwise, we are victims of technology, not creators of its best uses.
Mhm. Very true, Deepak ji, what you said, we have to be present in the activity that we take up and, fully focus in it, because if the mind is wandering too much into other things when we are doing something, a particular thing, it doesn't help us. And it should be the same with technology. When you're using it, be in it, but when you're out of it, just don't allow it to linger with you, be totally free from it. I think it's something that is challenging for many youngsters nowadays to do so, but I think small steps at a time can be really helpful in getting there. And I totally understand the importance of, yes.
Swamiji, I just want to conclude, if everything, including technology, could become dharana, dhyan, samadhi, then we would be free.
Exactly. It could be also used as a way of moving ahead. Yeah, I really like a quote that Amma says. She says that for our bodies to be healthy, they need to move. Our bodies need to move. And for our mind to be healthy, the mind should not move. It should have the capacity to sit in silence also. So when you have a good combination of this, then you are healthy in all ways. But unfortunately, some people, they don't move at all physically, but mentally they are moving all the time. And when you have the right balance, it really, it kind of solves a lot of problems with it. And I hope our listeners will surely try to put this into practice of taking moments of this silence. As we are coming towards the end of our discussion, but there is a very important question that I would like to ask our panelists, and hope you can put the answer in a concise way, so that we can conclude the session in time, because I know some of our guests need to leave. As you're aware that we are taking some points from this discussion as well to incorporate in our policy document, which will be presented to the world leaders when they meet for the G20 summit. So my question, starting from Deepak ji, followed by Mr. Machaya, is what will be your recommendations to world leaders to make technology safe, healthy, and ethical in the present day world, and also for the future generations? What will be your recommendations to them? I would ask this to all this is a question for all the panelists. Yeah. Yes, Deepak?
I'll keep my answer very short. Most world leaders right now are actually not leaders. They're interested in power mongering, influence peddling, cronyism, corruption, and greed. So I would say my message is, let the spiritual leaders become the world leaders. Don't depend on political leaders. I would not. I would depend on spiritual leaders to help us create a sangha together for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. And we have to start with us. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. Peace can only be created who are at peace, but not by political leaders or by Nobel Peace Laureates. I've met all of them. None of them are peaceful or happy. So peace can only be created by peaceful leaders, Amma and those like her.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Thank you. Mr. Machaya, would you like to say something on this question?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, having worked in Fortune 100 companies, been an entrepreneur, I think we have to become more conscious. So I think a course in being a conscious technologist, a conscious leader, has to be part of the curriculum of every school and every engineering, every business. I got my MBA, I got my engineering. I don't think we ever even touched on what it means to be a conscious technologist or a conscious leader. I think the words have to change. I think the word SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threats, that is very war, right? That come from Sun Tzu and the war, Chanakya's Arthashastra. This is not about scarcity consciousness. It is about abundance consciousness. The world has changed, and we need to not look at from scarcity. We need to look at abundance. That's why we talk about the feminine archetype. It is not about the archetype of death, destruction, conquest, scarcity. Feminine archetype, sharing economy, caring economy. And I think we need to look at the leadership of archetypal leadership and embrace a whole new language, right? When you start in business school with SWOT analysis, let me take a share of the pie, that goes back into the world they live in, right? So I think we need to create conscious leaders and conscious technologists. And that should be a curriculum, right? Everybody cannot graduate, and it's the most important one. When you become, you have to pass this course, because then it reminds you of what you signed up for, right? It's a reminder.
So to really bring about this kind of a change, to have a curriculum, especially if you start it early, the better. I think that would help, youngsters to have a focus, right?
When I went through my school in Bangalore, I went to St. Joseph Boys High School. I had moral science up to 10th standard. But then you look at my 12th and engineering, what happened? Nothing was ever spoken about it. When I came to business school, nothing was ever covered. So how did we currently stop at 10th standard, and then all of a sudden we expect leadership and business leaders to become conscious?
Sure. Just a point, Machaji, I was, in fact, discussing with one of my friends about the moral class, moral science classes that we used to have in school. The only thing was because we knew that the marks are not counted in the main, in the main sheet. It would always be used to complete your homework so that you could play a little more time. So I think to really make it important in studies so that it really also shows in your final gradation would be something important. Thank you so much for your points. Basurji would like to know what would you tell the world leaders? What would be your recommendations?
Swamiji, since I am a W20 India delegate, my recommendation would be to have technology to bring gender considerations into mainstream. So my recommendation to the world leader would be to have strategies to grant affordable internet access to women across the globe so that they can also be brought into the mainstream. The same technology and internet access should be used for financial literacy and digital literacy of women, especially when it comes to gender considerations for women. Something that we need to talk about is their hesitancy in use of technology. Eknath ji spoke about feeling of inadequacy because of use of technology, but there are still certain sections of the world who are not part of our financial inclusion and not part of our development. We need to ensure that their feeling of inadequacy is eradicated through affordable, accessible technology.
Thank you. And I really hope that this will be taken up, because this is the need of the hour. And, I totally agree. Our sisters need to have all the access, towards having these technologies, for their studies, for their work, and that would really create a huge change, I think, all over the world. And I'm sure, when we look at the recent projects that our Prime Minister has introduced in the country, we see such an effort being put by our Honorable Prime Minister to reach out to women. And, we have to just continue it, with more spirit to really reach out to every girl child in the country. Thank you so much. Thank you. Eknath, yes.
Thank you, Swamiji. I'll try and thank you everyone for sticking with my rants and things I'm saying. So I'll try and think of only like 3 things that I really wish for the people out there to listen and take away. And if any policymakers out there, I think the first thing that I really want everyone to take away, and it's something that's said already by Mr. Punacha, which is that essentially phones are now acting as a new body organ. And just as we teach kids and people how to walk and run sensibly, we need to be teaching them how to use technology responsibly. And to me, that comes in 2 forms. The first are robust digital learning and literacy programs, and the second comes from mindfulness programs. So digital literacy programs in places such that have been done like within India and the UN, or countries like Estonia and Finland, take kids from a very young age in schools and teach them about their journey with technology and get them off on the right footing for it, showing them the pros and the cons of it, how they can use it. The second about mindfulness is that, and I think this is something that we've echoed throughout this entire panel so far, is that it's very easy to go into technological addiction, and meditation and mindfulness practices allow us to step away from the phone, let us step away from the internet and engage with ourselves, and such that we can then use technology in the best ways possible. To me, the final point, and to me probably one of the most important things, is that we need to start including young people in the decision-making processes. And I think there's been a hesitancy for a long time to include us because people think we're inexperienced or naive. But let's be honest, there are kids half my age even who can use technology better than me. In fact, my friend's 7-year-old son told me about ChatGPT in preparation for this panel. And when I say include us, what I don't mean is just talking to someone or asking a friend or someone you know about their perspective. I mean sitting down with groups of young people, doing surveys and focus groups, irrespective of their background or their geography. I think that in order, we need to start thinking about how we can foster a generation of critical thinkers, innovators, and responsible digital citizens who can navigate the complexities of this world. And only by including young people in the decision-making process that we can really create policies that reflect their values and concerns. So I really advocate that we should be working together across generations to build strong communities where our youth are equipped with the skills and the knowledge to thrive in this digital age, and hopefully be a group of people who are dedicated and compassionate with a shared vision for us all. Okay. Work with us, train us. Let's get it rolling to a better future. Thanks.
So to put it in 3 points, would it be, I'm just trying to summarize your answer. One would be like get mindfulness practices, meditation, at least the knowledge available in schools at a young age, getting more digital literacy. And the third thing is making youth a part of policies, to discuss with youngsters, also to have the youth voice heard in policies. That would be the 3 points that you would put, right? Absolutely.
Just like I'm here today and have been given this honor, we should keep doing this in this process and including a young person in all of these panel discussions to get their perspectives heard.
Professor Rajeshji, I'd like to know what would your recommendations be on it?
I have 3 simple recommendations. Number 1 is they need to watch their behavior because they are supposed to be role models for especially kids and growing up youngsters. Second, they need to be more innovative in their approach in solving the world problems. It looks like they're not innovative enough to solve the world problems that we are facing. And third, they should undergo some serious courses on happiness, wellness, spirituality, sustainability, values, ethics. These are 3 suggestions, but I have one suggestion for each one of us. I think each one of us are leader in our own area, or in maybe at least at our home, right? When kids are watching us. So I think if we only change ourselves, it can be a great service. So in the interest of time, these are my 3 suggestions and one for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this 3 points that you put in. And, it's so interesting to hear all your points. And I hope, we could include the gist of it in our policy document, which would reach out to the world leaders. And, we hope it will fall in their attention and the necessary steps would be taken to make technology more reachable, to make it more safe and ethical. So as we come to the end of this discussion, let me thank all the eminent panelists, Dr. Deepak Chopra ji, Mr. Punajha Machaya, Basuri Swaraj, Eknath Jain, and Professor Rajesh Pilania. Thank you so much for taking time of your busy schedules to be with us today. I'm sure all the participants will agree with me that it has been a very nourishing and a thought-provoking session that we had. And I'm sure they would want to listen to you for a longer time, but due to the constraint of time, unfortunately, we have to stop here. And in conclusion, I think we have all come to the firm, firm conviction that incorporations of values in technology is essential for creating a better world. And as technology continues to shape our lives, It is crucial that we prioritize ethical considerations such as privacy, transparency, and accountability, as Basuriji said. If it's not followed, then we take strict steps against them. We have laws that can support that. And by doing so, we can ensure that technology works for the benefit of society as a whole and not just a select few. There's a quote by Alvin Toffler that comes to my mind. Our moral responsibility is not to stop the future, but to shape it, to channelize the destiny in humane directions, end quote. So I think this is what, we all aspire for, and we all dream about that. This will not stop, but it will take humanity in a proper direction towards peace and harmony. And for this, we need to give values the right place in our life. Let us work together to create technology that aligns with our collective values and contributes to a more equitable and peaceful future. And may the grace of the Divine Mother help us achieve this goal. And let's hope that the world will use technology in a way to spread peace and love, and not for anything else. We, as Martin Luther King said, we don't need misguided men. We need, people who have the right direction. In today's times, we have missiles that go with pinpoint accuracy, but we have misguided men, and we don't want that to be there in the future. And let's all hope that technology will be used for peace and happiness in the world. Thank you to all the participants from the 54 countries who took part in this event, and hope we will have more opportunities in future as well. A big thank you once again to all our panelists, to all our participants. Om Amriteshwari Namaha.